we're continuing to go through the Shawshank Redemption scene by scene to analyze and learn how every moment in this film is crafted to demonstrate how Stephen King thinks is the best way to live. In our first video, we saw how get busy living is tied to hope, explored in the scene where Andy asks the name of the inmate who died. So let's continue.
How resilient is this hope? King needed to ask if there's any context in which you should accept comfort over hope for a better life. Whether it be in the face of terror, immense pain, or even potential death, is holding on to hope a good idea? He first explores that question in the sequence with the sisters. Andy's conclusion is no. He will not succumb to the forces that be. He will do everything in his power to make his life closer to the ideal, closer to the life he believes we all deserve to have, even to the point of death.
This is one of those moments where I wish I could plug your brain into mine to fully communicate the weight that I feel towards this. In my day-to-day, I'm eating breakfast, sitting on my computer, whatever. The implication of this periodically flows through my thoughts as I continue to wrestle with what it means for how I act and posture myself towards the authorities in my life. Specifically, the scene in the film room. Andy starts the scene showing us what he could do. He turns around and says,
"Ain't you gonna scream?"
Good luck. Let's get this over with.
Here he's showing us what dying looks like. So far, the only guarantee that we've seen in Andy fighting the sisters is that he'll definitely get a good beating. It doesn't always mean he gets away. So the path of least resistance is just to accept that this is just a reality of life. It sucks and I hate it, but it's just the way that it is. I have to submit my value, dignity, and humility. If I don't, it will be worse. I'll get cut, bruised, and potentially die, which is not easy to grapple with. Pain is a real and loud reality. It hurts. It'd be easier on all fronts to just bend over, let it happen, and move on with your larger goals. But even then, even when there's a shiv to Andy's skull, he maintains that who he is more important than his own death, which is profound. Even at the risk of death, there's something larger at play, something others can't touch.
We are what we choose to be. We only have our decisions, what we do with the cards that are given to us. If we bend over to the pressure of another's will in one situation, but enact our humanity in others, we are compartmentalizing who we are in each of those scenarios. We cannot live holistically cogent lives, and we will certainly experience cognitive dissonance. We need a single value that informs everything that we do, and then hope and fight for every aspect of our lives to be the best versions of themselves towards that. Especially if you believe that your life is greater than just yourself. If you believe that we are a network of connected lives, then how you live affects your friends, their friends, me, his sister, her son. It means dying for the life you believe we all deserve to have has a greater impact than taking it, letting it continue, and moving on with your head down.
Even in stories, like Andy is a fictional character, but there's a reason that this is the story that's told. A reason why I cry at the end of it. A reason why I believe its claim. Andy's choice to assert human value in every aspect of his life, even the most dangerous ones, causes a larger ripple than if King had decided that Andy bent over and submitted to the forces directing him in any area of his life. That story wouldn't have rang as true. It wouldn't permeate as deep. So, what if we believed the same of our lives? These are the things that keep me up at night. What is my life about? What's my theme?
We see these ideas unfold again on the rooftop. The cons just do what they're told and try to make the least painful situation for themselves. But Andy does everything in his power to hope for the best world. He was a banker, so overhearing Hadley's conversation, Andy knows something that Hadley doesn't and tries to use his expertise to trade for a better situation for him and his coworkers. For Andy, Red speculates,
"I think he did it just to feel normal again."
Which is another example of Andy living his life as if he has equal dignity and value. He understands that the guards are men going through life, just like he is, and he talks to them on that level. But why does he get beers for his friends?
We sat and drank with the sun on our shoulders and felt like free men. Hell, we could have been tarring the roof of one of our own houses. We were the lords of all creation.
I was stumped by why they used the line, "Lords of all creation." It reminded me of the Judeo-Christian worldview and its claim for the purpose of all humans. What does a lord or ruler do? He or she brings order and assigns functional roles for the individuals in the group to better serve the community's goals. So like if we have a group project, we have a goal. Do project well. If a leader is assigned, she creates order by distinguishing everyone's roles to bring the project to fruition. The image described in Genesis is that our purpose is to rule over creation, i.e. bring order and function to the earth. Like you do in a garden. You take the chaos of wilderness and bring it into an order and function that better serves a goal, be it beauty or food. Then God said, "Let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, over the livestock and all the wild animals, and over all the creatures that move along the ground." This is the archetypal ideal life in perfect relationship with God, humans, and nature. It's why Adam's work in the garden is naming the animals. He's bringing order. Have you ever spent a day working in your yard, building something for your house, making a gift, or working on a project at work that you believe in? And afterwards, you come home, you flop on the couch, exhausted, but satisfied. A solid day's work. This is the image that Eden is proposing. It's the picture that Red is painting when he says,
Hell, we could have been tarring the roof of one of our own houses.
It's uplifting this idea of the good and satisfaction we derive from bringing order and function out of chaos. It's why ordering your room feels so good. And in this moment, Red is saying that this is our work. We aren't slaves. We are free to do what we want to do and bring order and function in ways that we see as best for everyone and everything. And now, with crisp beer on their lips, they're taking in the completion of the work their hands did. The beer is not about the beer.
I think a man working outdoors feels more like a man if you can have a bottle of suds. It's only my opinion.
It's about what the beer stands for. Resting after a solid day's work of freely impacting the world of their own volition.
even though Andy doesn't drink with them, he also basks in the completion of his work. He just doesn't need a beer to do it. Just the incredible sight of his friends being present in a moment, being equals in the sight of God, not complaining about the authorities over them, not being oppressed, but feeling like men. He gives them a glimpse of how living is worth dying for, and shows them the life, the value and impact that they can have if they hope for bigger things than the powers that be. That's a solid day's work.
To fully understand the purpose of the scene where Andy plays Mozart's Sull'aria che soave zeffiretto from The Marriage of Figaro, we also have to watch the scene immediately following.
It's in here. In here. That's the beauty of music. They can't get that from you. Haven't you ever felt that way about music?
I played a mean harmonica as a younger man. Lost interest in it, though. Didn't make much sense in here.
Here's where it makes the most sense. You need it so you don't forget.
Forget.
Forget that there are places in the world that aren't made out of stone, that there's something inside that they can't get to, that they can't touch. It's yours.
What are you talking about?
Hope.
Hope. Let me tell you something, my friend. Hope is a dangerous thing. Hope can drive a man insane. It's got no use on the inside. You better get used to that idea.
This is the most articulated confrontation between Andy and his friends' worldviews. And again, Andy sees, hopes, and acts as if there are things beyond those walls.
There are places in the world that aren't made out of stone.
Like with the beers, he again brings a reminder of spaces outside of their world.
I tell you, those voices soared. Higher and farther than anybody in a great place dares to dream.
Music is weird, and like a name, a deeply human thing. While it can be used as a vessel to create various spaces, social, romantic, narrative, etc., it also has a deeply spiritual aspect to it too. Literally a core tenet in most spiritual practices, but also to any human, no matter how they identify spiritually. I hope I'm not alone in this, but when you feel the weight of the world on top of you, and then you put on a familiar song. I don't know what else to call the experience of being lifted up out of the myopic tunnel that you're in. Feeling the weight fall off your shoulder, taking a deep breath, and behind your tears, seeing further. It creates a space to put things in a larger perspective and hope for that which is not yet. If that's not spiritual, I don't know what is. The point that I'm getting at is that music has a pointing quality to it. Whether it be a space, a moment, a memory, lifting you up. You've probably heard someone describe a song as it transported them or it's transcending. This scene is again Andy bringing glimpses of what their life could be if they lived as if their lives were going somewhere. Something bigger and grander than themselves and the situation they're in. Hope. Here's two interesting ideas that may help communicate this abstract essence I'm trying to capture, or it may complicate it further. Firstly, this quote from Slavoj Žižek that Lewis Waller uses in his video on the Shawshank Redemption, so go check that out. Žižek uses this specific scene to help paint his picture of the Holy Spirit. In it, he says,
"In hearing this aria from Figaro, the prisoners have seen a ghost. Neither the resuscitated obscene ghost from the past, not the spectral ghost of the capitalist present, but the brief apparition of a future utopian otherness." Which
I think is supported by Red's monologue.
It was like some beautiful bird flapped into our drab little cage and made those walls dissolve away. And for the briefest of moments, every last man at Shawshank felt free.
It was as if something from above came and took, transported, pointed us out of our context. We could feel something from the beyond, a future utopian otherness. Hope.
Beauty has a similar quality to it. When pondering the notion of beauty, C.S. Lewis says, precisely where, he asked, does the beauty of a tree, for example, reside? Like every other physical object, a tree is made up of atoms, and atoms are identical and without color. So when you call a tree beautiful, you are actually speaking of something other than the atoms of which it is made. A light from the vibrations in the distant sun produces a wave towards your eye. When it reaches the tissues of your eye, another vibration is set up and moves along a nerve like a telegraph wire, carrying the sensation to your brain. One such sensation we call greenness, another brownness, a third shapeliness. But there is no actual color either in the atoms of which the tree is composed or in all those vibrations. How then does the beauty of the tree arise? Shape, size, color, touch, and the like are simply the names we call our sensations, and no amount of study of them can ever bring us to the notion of beauty in the tree. Beauty must therefore arise from some non-material relation between the tree and myself. He believed that beauty was something that pointed beyond itself to a greater experience than just the sum of a beautiful thing's parts.
I like to think they were singing about something so beautiful it can't be expressed in words, and makes your heart ache because of it.
We could keep talking about abstractions all day, but the overall point that we're making about this scene is that Andy is again reminding his inmates of the life that they could have if they just believed it, if they saw it, if they lived it, if they hoped beyond the powers that be, beyond the walls, beyond the cards that they were dealt, and make their life a life that they believe in.
I don't think I could make it on the outside, Andy. I've been in here most of my life. I'm an institutional man now. It's like Brooks was.
Wow, you underestimate yourself.
And again, Andy's given them a glimpse of what it means to hope, to live as if the ideal exists, to get busy living, this time through beauty and music. So this is where we're stopping, part 2 of the Shawshank Redemption analysis.
Let us know what you guys think about anything we talked about in the comments. Please keep the conversation going either there or over on our Discord. We are always looking for more in-depth, meaningful conversation, so please jump in, just do it.
And check back with us in 3 weeks for the third and final installment of the Shawshank Redemption.
And as always, if you guys find this content valuable, support us on Patreon so that we can keep doing it, at this rate. This video was produced by Frozen Was Actually Genius, Connor Fitzer, David M., Matt Laskowski, Uncle Doug and Aunt Dee Dee, Rachel Steven, Caitlin Taylor, Miley Greenwell, Scott Zenteno, Richard Roberts, and Pickle Princess. Thanks, guys.